Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today, looking at our pro tools and how you can use CodeHS to make your classroom be exactly what you want this year. Make sure that you are giving your students what they need. We're going to look at a lot of tools that will help you with grading, differentiation, planning your lessons, all of these great things that take a lot of time. And we have developed for you. So our goal is to take things off your plate. So we hope that these tools will help you feel more comfortable and ready and have more time to spend with your students in your classroom this year. So we're gonna get started. My name is Julia Trigo and I work on the PD team right now at CodeHS. I have also worked on the curriculum team, developing some of our courses that you'll see. And I'm also here with MR, who is a PD specialist as well, and she's going to be answering your questions on the back end. So you'll see on your screen a Q&A button. Since we are in a webinar, it's a little different than maybe some other Zoom meetings that you've been in. So that Q&A button is going to be the best way for you to communicate with us. That chat is going to be used by us to give you some links as we are going through our session today. So if you have any questions at any point, feel free to throw them in the Q&A, and MR is going to be monitoring that, answering your questions on there. If there's something that maybe we should take a minute to chat about, she can bring that to me as well. So there's going to be a lot of ways for you to communicate. We want to make sure that you are getting exactly what you came for today. So if you have at any point have a question, throw it in the Q&A. We'll make sure that it gets answered before we finish today. All right, so assuming most of you already have an account on CodeHS, but if for some reason you don't yet, there is a link in the chat for you to sign up for a teacher account. Just make sure that you click that you are a teacher instead of a student, because you're going to get obviously a lot more material as a teacher and a lot more access. So you will enter in your information, and it will take just a few days it may take up to a few days to verify you as a teacher. But you should be able to get access to the site right away. All right, we have a short time together today, only half an hour. So we are going to hit 3 different main topics today. We're going to look really quickly, if you have not ever set up a course or a section in CodeHS, how can you do that? Then we're going to dive in to a lot of our pro tools. And I am going to go through these probably pretty quickly because we have so many that I want to show you. But this slide deck is going to be available to you. So that link will open the slide deck for you right now. You will also get this recording as well as this slide deck emailed to you after our session. So if you are like, oh my gosh, this is too much, you can always go back and revisit those to see how they work. And we'll have a lot of different ways for you to get support and communicate with our team at the end of our session as well. And we're going to also look at a bunch of curricular resources that we have, because on our pro accounts, you get access to lesson plans, problem guides for all of our exercises, handouts. So lots of things that our team has developed for you so that you don't have to spend the time making it from scratch. So we're going to dive into these things, and you'll notice there's going to be in this slide deck, if you open it, there's a lot of slides with images and steps and lots of directions here, but I'm actually going to go through it on the site so that you can see it this way. If you want to go and look back at the slides, that is going to be a good refresher for you. But just for our session today, I'm going to go through each of our tools and things on our site. So first thing that we want to get figured out is, how do we create a course? So the main thing you'll see on the side and at the top, we have 2 different terms, course and section. Course is the content in a course. So all of the lessons, all of the activities that students are actually going to be working on are in the course. So you can see I have this Arduino course, and I have one section of that course. So my Arduino course is the content, and the section that I have is the students in that course. So if I want to say I'm going to teach a coding with art course, I can type that in, whatever I want to name it. You'll see that you can use lots of different names, and I'm going to click create new course. Now, for this course, I may have already looked at the course catalog, and I know what course I want. So I know that I'm going to use a CodeHS course template. I don't suggest starting with an empty course because that is a lot to start filling in by yourself. So starting with a CodeHS course is the best way to go, and you have the option to customize that as much as you want. So I would start with the course, and since I'm going to be teaching something about art, I know that I can scroll through all of our courses and see, oh, maybe web design would have some art ideas in there. But I actually want to use this digital art with P5JS. So I'm going to choose this course. I can also, if I already knew that that's what it was, or I know something's with art, I can type that in and see what comes up as well. So I'm going to choose this course. Once I click it, it says creating your new course. So you might be like, well, the course was P5JS. Why do I have a new title? This is because of that customization option. So I could start with this course, and then I have the option to go in and remove modules, add modules from a different a different course that we offer. So maybe you want to teach JavaScript and web design. You can name a course JavaScript and web design, and you can take pieces from both of those courses and alter it, which is why you are giving your own name to your course, even if you're starting with one of CodeHS's courses. So this right now is the course that I have. And if I click into it, I have a lot of information here. These are the 3 modules in the course. They all have activities. So this is all the content that students are going to be going through. But I actually don't have any sections of this course. So if I go back to my courses, you'll see these other courses I have sections of. This one I don't have any. So a section is the group of students that are taking that course, the students that are interacting with that content. So if I want to now create a section of this course, I can scroll over to this symbol, and it tells me I can create a new section of this course. If I click that button, now maybe I'll say this is period 1, coding with art. And now when I create that, it's going to allow me to add students to this course, because now this is a section that exists. So if I go over to sections now, I can also go to my sections at the top, and my sections is actually the default page. So if you just click right back here to CodeHS, this is what first comes up, because this is usually what you're going to be interacting with. And you'll see down here, I have period 1, coding with art. So if I click into period 1, coding with art, I can see that I have no students in here yet, but I can add them now using this link. So if you have never taught a class with CodeHS, this is the first few steps that you're going to do. Find your course that you want to use, create the course, and then add sections. And you don't need only one. You could have period 1, maybe you also have period 4. So you can make multiple sections, and you'll see your roster down here fill in as students are using the code to sign up. If they are given this link, they're going to make their own login so they can access the material for themselves at any point. And if they ever are asked for a class code, it is the last 5 digits of that URL. So those are the main things you need to know to get started. So once you have this course, you want to go in and you want to customize this course. You want to make sure that the settings are going to be beneficial for your students. How can you change? How can you grade? How can you use this? So I am actually going to go back to a different section that is going to be my demo section. And you'll see here, this one says I have 8 students in this class. So I have actually some fake students with fake material in here. So some of these students have completed different portions of the course, and I can show you how to use these tools here. If you just created a section and you try to use some of these tools, a lot of them will probably be blank because students are not there yet. You don't have any information or content to work with. So I'm going to go through this secondary toolbar. At the very top of CodeHS, you always have these options, but this secondary toolbar opens anytime you're inside a section, and you can easily switch between your sections using this drop down. Majority of these tools are all accessed using this secondary toolbar. And on each of these pages, there's a lot of different things you can do. I am going to just highlight the ones that I think are really helpful and the pro tools that I think really make your life easier. So on this roster page, which is the first page that's going to pop up, you have all your students, you have an overview of how much of the course they've completed, and you have a few other options. So there's a bunch of things here, but one tool that I want to point out is this attendance tool, which I think is super helpful. If you click this attendance, you are able to see, and today, all my students are not here, but you'll see if a student logged in today, it will automatically track the time that they first logged into the site. It will put a check mark next to them then. It will show how what the time was that they were most recently completing something on the site and the total time that they spent. This is really helpful, I think, because I have definitely had scenarios in my own classroom where students say, oh my gosh, I worked on this all night and I don't understand. And then I went on and I was like, it says you never logged in yesterday. So this is a nice way to just keep everyone on the same page. And then just to see, maybe one student really is spending like 4 hours a night trying to complete homework or exercises, and that might be an indication that you should check in with that student. So you can change that. You can also see this attendance in a weekly form. So if you want to just see an overview, when did people log into CodeHS, you'll be able to see that there. And again, though, this is just them logging in. They may log in, just check something, which is why that time on the site is really helpful to get a full picture. All right, so let's go back to the roster page. That was our attendance tool. Another nice tool that you have that you can use is this announcements. This is a way for you as the teacher to give information to all your students at one time. We have this little conversation bubble here, and that's a way to talk to just one student individually. But if you use announcements, you can then write in like, remember, homework is due tomorrow. Oh my goodness, remember, homework is due tomorrow. And I can also send an email of this notification to my students. I can publish it to the section, and then I'll be able to see I sent this message. And every student, when they open my section, that will pop up for them. So they'll be able to see that right away. Maybe I give daily information about that. Maybe I say, okay, we're going to start on this due now today. Whatever information you want to give to students, this is a nice way to communicate there. So those are two tools that I wanted to highlight on our roster page. We're going to go to assignments after because that's where all of our curricular resources are, but I want to just stay on our tools section for now. So this next tab here is different ways for us to view progress. So we can see how students are actually moving through the course. And this is a really nice way for you to have a full view of your students and how they may be interacting with CodeHS. You can view by assignment, which I think may be a little too granular, and module, which is pretty broad. I usually like this lesson progress view, where you can see here we can change from all modules. Maybe I just want to look at the Programming with Carol module. Now I'm seeing all of the lessons in that module, and I'm seeing using this key, which if you hover over a color, you'll see what that means. You'll be able to see how students are working through. So Liam here has everything is finalized for him. Every lesson, he has completed all of the activities and everything has been graded. So Harper and Liam are on track here. Emma has completed the first two, and then these yellow dots mean that she's opened them. She maybe started them or looked at them and then stopped. She never submitted her work. So this might indicate to me that I should go and check in with Emma. She is looking at a lot of the lessons, but she's not completing them. So there might be something in her way. There's an obstacle there that I need to take away. And this is funny enough, this is exactly when I taught the Carol unit, this is the exact lesson that all my students kind of started being like, what's going on? Because it's the first time where they're having to use functions. So this, you may see a lot of yellows start popping up in a certain point, and then maybe, you know, as a whole class, we need to come back together, or I need to take some students aside. I'm going to have a smaller group and I'm going to do some interventions with them. So this lesson progress is really helpful there. And I also want to highlight this time tracking tool, which as we saw the time tracking for attendance, we have a similar thing for each of our exercises. So I can see that on this first program, everyone finalized, which means everyone passed the auto graders, everyone's grade, everyone's program worked correctly, and their grade is finalized. I can see how long it took everyone when they were working on this. I can see some things that might be triggers for me, really high amounts of time on one exercise. This is, some demo data, so I don't really think they were on here for 1,200 minutes, but it is really nice to just get a snapshot and see maybe this student is one I should check in with. Either they took a really long time or maybe they took a really short time, right? So there might be a bunch of students who are taking 4 or 5 minutes and one student who's taking 30 seconds. Maybe that indicates to me that they may have found an answer somewhere else. So it might be just an indication for me to go and check in with them and talk through that exercise. So that time tracking is another nice way to stay on top of your students and your class as a whole. We're going to look at our review. This is how we're going to actually grade our students' assignments. So I did mention that we have auto graders, and on most of our activity types, we have auto graders that you can use that will check students' work and allow them to move on. But there are going to be some times where either an auto grader doesn't work. That would be for maybe an open-ended problem. Any free response problem is not auto-graded as well. So all of those will automatically come to your queue down here. But you can also check, you can decide which items you want to be auto-graded or graded by you. You can also just click right here and you'll be able to take a look at that. Our review tab is also going to have at the top these help questions. So if a student is in the IDE and they are typing their code and then they get stuck, maybe you have them raise their hand and you walk over and you help them. But a lot of times students are going to get stuck all at the same place or all at the same time. Or maybe they're doing it for homework or they're at the library and you're not there to just raise their hand. So then their option is, okay, I'm just going to stop. Definitely we should have some protocols in place of what they should do when they get stuck. But if the last thing is ask your teacher, there is a way for them to ask a question to you on that exercise. And that's what these questions are. So I can see what exercise the student was on, when they were on it, and then I can see what their question was. And if I click into the question, I can go to the conversation, I can test their code, I can make some comments, and then I can reply back to them. And so this is a nice place for you to just make sure that you are answering all the students' questions when they come in. Another place that they will pop up, you'll see up here, on your site, you probably don't have a blue dot. Once a student asks a question, it will pop up and you'll see some questions there, any that you haven't seen yet. All right, but one really nice pro tool on our review page is this fast grade. So any teacher can use grade mode to go through the exercises that students have completed, but fast grade is going to be a really big time saver, which is why it's called fast. So if we open fast grade, and I'm going to open it in a new tab so I can come back here, you'll see that we have the student with the exact exercise they're working on, when they submitted it, and all of my options here. I can just go right ahead and give them full credit. I can say, there's no submission. That would tell me maybe I should give you a 0 for this. But if you give a 0, that's the final grade. If you want to say you didn't complete this, try again, I can give some feedback and I can click needs work, and this will send it back to the student so that they can say, oh, I must have clicked it by accident, or I need to go back and try. And then they can submit it back to you again, so you can give them some credit for it. But the nice thing about this layout is that we see the student code on the left, we see the solution code. If we want to run the student code or look back at the description or run the solution, if we forgot what it was supposed to do, you do have all those options over here still. But as soon as I say, okay, this one you need to try again, I'm going to click needs work. It automatically sends that to the student and brings me to my next student in the queue. And I can then say, oh, this student looks like she did everything correct. I maybe want to say great job. And I can finalize that. And oh, I should have maybe put a grade of 6. But you'll see that your queue is getting smaller. So there's 9 remaining. 2 of them I already sent back. I can award full credit and it will bring me to the next one. So fast grade is a really quick way to make sure that you are going through your queue and giving all of your students the feedback that they need, but it saves you a lot of time as the teacher. No one really, no teacher said grading was ever their favorite part of their job. All right, a few last things to look at. So the gradebook, I'm not going to spend too much time on. There is a lot for you to play with, but I just want to point out this configure button because all of our gradebook has default settings. In this configure, you have a lot of different options for changing the gradebook to make it be what you want it to be. So I would suggest that you take a look at those settings when you're ready to use that. But one last tool that I want to point out before we move and look at the curricular resources, because that's where I think you save the most time. We're gonna just look at this due date and access controls. This is the most powerful tool for differentiation in your classroom. So if you go to course settings, due date and access controls, and you'll see we have those 2 tools separated out as well. But if we go in this one section, this one tool, it will have everything for you together. So I can look at my section and I can change my section here. I can assign, give a due date, change the access controls for students here. So what do those mean? Assigned. If I say, actually, I did Carol with my students in middle school, maybe. I don't want them to do it again. I can just unassign those modules and students will never even see them in their course. They won't know that they were ever there. So one use case for this is just, I never want them to do it. But when students first log in and they see the whole slew of modules that they're going to complete, some of them might be like, oh, that's so cool. Look at all this work we're going to do. Other ones might be like, oh my gosh, this is so much. I can't believe we're going to do all this stuff this year. So another use case, I would unassign all of the modules and only assign the one that we're working on. And then slowly, okay, so we go through Program with Carol. In a month, I'm going to come in, we're on Carol Challenges. Now I'm going to open it. So they're going to see their content growing rather than just being overwhelmed by the amount of content that they're going to be expected to do at the beginning. So this is all up to you if you, how you think your students will feel best and work best with the content. But another option here is assigned means they just won't see it in their list until you click yes. But access controls means they will see it, but they won't be able to click in. So it will have a locked button. That's another nice option for you if you think that your students want to know that this stuff is there. We're going to get to it, but you are not responsible for it now. You cannot even access it. You also have the option to schedule this. So if you are a teacher who is very well planned and nothing goes wrong, which I don't know if that's any, you can schedule it and say, okay, we're going to get to this unit this month. We're going to get to this unit this month. And I know a lot of AP teachers, this is really helpful for them because we have to cover this content. We need to be here at this time. So you can schedule and add in a start time. You can also add an end time, so it will lock after that time as well. All right, and on this page, you can do that on a module basis, a lesson basis, or even an activity basis. And I said differentiation, you can do that for all students in the section or student by student. So if you think one of your students really needs some challenges and another student should actually work on practice, you can assign one module to one student and another module to a different student. They won't even know. They won't know the difference. They're all logging on, going into their section and seeing their own version of the course. So this is a really nice way to differentiate. All right, we only have 5 minutes left, and I really want us to see our curricular resources. So I'm going to hop over to assignments. And this we saw before is the layout of the course. So this is all the modules. We can expand the modules and see the lessons. We can expand the lessons, see all the activities. This is what students are going through. And you'll see some of these mentions here to add things. That's your customization options, which we're not going to be able to cover today. But all of these icons are giving you a lot of good additional information. So the first thing I would always open is this lesson plan. Before you bring this lesson to your students, click on your lesson plan and just peruse and see what's here. You're going to get a lot of information. You have problem guides right here, which I'm going to come back to in just a second. Vocab, a lot of extra handouts that our team has made, either for a do now or homework or another way for students to interact with the material that is not on the computer. Some of our courses have textbooks, you have links there. The planning notes is anything you should think about before you start that lesson. Our teaching and learning strategy section has some options for what can you do to open your lesson, what are students going to work through, and how long is it going to take them. So if you, we have a bunch of different schedules, right? You might have a block schedule. You might see your students every day for 45 minutes. You might see them every other day for an hour. So you can make sure that you are filling in the amount of time that you have with your students based on these time frames that we're giving you. We have some, what should students know before they come in? This is really good to check if you had a student that was absent. They may be able to move on, but there might be some things you need to go over with them before they get started. You have your slide deck right here, and then discussion questions. So these can be used as do nows, exit tickets, maybe just some questions that you have in the back of your mind as you're going through the lesson, so that you know that you are asking students and getting to the meat of what they should be understanding. And all of our discussion questions have sample answers as well. So if you are a teacher who's like, I have to teach this AP class and I really don't know all the content yet, that is very, very common. And you have all of the answers, as well as in our handouts, you'll notice any handout that is student facing, there's also a teacher facing one with the answers as well. And that last thing that I wanted to come back to, these problem guides. So you might be like, oh, I'm looking for the answer. Oh, I should go to the solution references. But the solution reference is literally just going to be what is the answer code. Problem guide is way more helpful. This is where I would definitely always go to. So if you open the problem guide, you'll see what is the exercise actually asking them to do. Why are they doing it? What is the reason to have this one in? Then that solution code, and again, we're right at the beginning of our Carol unit, so real short, quick solutions here. But this might be, if it's a challenge or an open-ended problem, it might be a sample solution. We have some common questions. So as we get to more complex content, there might be a lot more things that could go wrong. And you'll see that these common questions are going to give you a lot of information. So you feel okay bringing this to your students. And the last thing in here is an explain this to me video. If a video exists, it will have a password. So you copy and paste the password in there, and you will be able to see from a curriculum developer step by step how do we do this exercise. How do we get the answer? All right, and I see I have 1 minute left. So definitely take a look at those curricular resources. Again, those are all on the assignments. You have your little tabs here. The last thing, I'm going to come back to our slides here, and I am just going to go all the way to the end here. Did we have any questions come in the chat, MR, that we need to chat about, or were you able to answer those all on the back end?
I think everyone's all set.
Okay, perfect. So the last things that we want to give you are just some resources. How can you stay engaged with us? How do you get your questions answered as you go through? So we have a lot of different workshops that we're gonna be running. We have a lot of webinars like this one. We just got started with our back to school webinars, so there's a lot more to come. We have a lot of different social media platforms that you can engage with us on. Our two webinars that are coming up very soon are next Tuesday. If you're teaching the web design course, we made a lot of updates this summer, so definitely take a look at that webinar. And you can, I know that, you know, a lot of people are already in school, maybe the times don't work for you. You can always register and receive the recording as well. And then we also have our Intro to JavaScript course, which is our main flagship course. If you have used that course for a while and you have not seen our new updated version, I would definitely suggest coming to that webinar next Wednesday. And if you have any questions or you want to learn more about CodeHS, how can you use it, what are the best use cases, all of these things, communicate with us. CodeHS.com/learn-more is your spot. Woo, so that was a lot of information. I hope you were able to get what you were looking for. I hope that showing you all these tools and resources that we have make you feel more comfortable bringing this content to your students. So thank you so much for coming. And if you have any other questions, please ask. Otherwise, have a great year. And we're really excited to see you at a future webinar.